Senior Master Sergeant Michael Daggett is with the Indiana Air National Guard, and he is currently the superintendent of recruiting and retention. So he has a firsthand knowledge of the concerns that we have with recruiting members into the military and whether or not they are meeting those standards that we need for being able to enter the military service. So, Michael.
A standard disclosure slide, the Senior Master Sergeant Daggett from the Indiana Air National Guard, currently on active duty, and I'm the CEO and founder of Operation FATDAG, which is a 501c3 aimed to fill in the gaps that you've just heard, that there are some gaps, and we're going to talk about some of them. Before I begin, if you are currently serving or if you've ever served this nation, please raise your hand. Thank you. I am not a dietitian, I'm not a research analyst, I'm not a fitness expert, I'm an airman, and I'm a mess. 26 years ago, I raised my right hand, I swore to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, both foreign and domestic, and I would give my life today to keep that promise. Damn it, I'm a good airman. I'll do whatever the military asks of me. I was, in 1997, I was the Air Traffic Control Maintainer of the Year for the entire nation. 2002, I was the Rookie Recruiter for the entire nation, the best recruiter in the country. I've been given the Meritorious Service Medal twice, the Air Force Commendation Medal 3 times, the Air Force Achievement Medal 4 times. I've even been given the Air Force Outstanding Military Volunteer Medal. By most accounts, this is a very, very successful career. But deep in the shadows lies a secret, one that we don't talk about in society, one we certainly don't talk about in the military. I have an addiction. I have an addiction to food, and that addiction almost cost me my career. The addiction causes me to struggle with my fitness test no matter how much I want to take it. No matter how much they order me to go run more, I want to do that. But I couldn't find the way to get that. And I want to kind of go through a personal story that talks about some of the gaps and where we are, because I want nothing more than to comply. I want to be a good airman. I told you I'll do whatever the military asks of me. I remember my very first challenge of being overweight in the military. It was 1997. I joined in 91. I've been 6 years in. And we deployed over to, I was air traffic control maintainer, maintaining radar systems in crazy places. And we deployed and came back. We were in a group of folks for about 6 months, living in tents, really having a great time. And we all came back one by one, and we all made it back, which was fantastic. And the mission had changed, the world had changed, and we were in the Maine Air National Guard at the time. And one by one, the mission moved to New Hampshire. The mission moved to New Hampshire. One by one, we moved to New Hampshire. Every single one of my friends transferred. I stepped up to transfer, and they said, well, hang on, Mike. You actually can't transfer units because part of the recruiting process requires that you meet a height and weight standard. I didn't meet the height and weight standard. So the entire unit transfers, I don't get to go. Now, luckily at the time it was 10 or 15 pounds. I lost the 10 or 15 pounds. I ended up transferring, being part of my unit again, finally being able to continue on in my Air Force career. But that was the very first memory I have of being overweight in the military and having it impact my career. 2001, I wanted to be a recruiter. I loved everything about being in the military. I thought every single person in the world should be able to experience this. And I want to make sure that they have that same opportunity. So I said, I want to go and be a recruiter. I want to go to recruiting school. So I submitted an application, and they looked at the career and said, yeah, absolutely. Can you send us a copy of your fitness scores so we can validate that? I didn't actually have a current fitness score. Certainly didn't have a passing one. And so they said, well, hey, so I looked at the guys on base. I'm like, hey, can you help me out? I need to go take my fitness assessment. So we go out and we run down through the thing, and I do my 1.5 mile run. I do my push-ups, do my sit-ups. And as I'm coming across the 1.5 mile finish line, they click the clock, and I said, what was my time? And the captain at the time says, you passed. I said, no, what was my time? He's like, you passed. I'll tell you today, I didn't pass that test. I know I didn't pass it. I know what it takes to pass the test. I did not pass the test that day. But at the time, I didn't care. I wasn't going to argue with him. Certainly wasn't going to go into that detail. So I ended up going to recruiting school. I had a great career, as you heard, and I had 4 or 5 years in recruiting. I decided I want to do even more. I want to go work at the Pentagon. I want to work for our nation's capital. I want to change policy so that we can continue to offer these benefits to the great Americans who want to serve our nation. So I applied, and same thing. They looked at my application, looked at my career, said, "Man, you're exactly who we need. Mike, can you send us a copy of your fitness test?" Damn it. And so same thing. I was doing whatever I could to pass this test. I got that done. But being overweight in the military absolutely limited everything about my military career. There were TDYs, temporary duties, where I had to go to this conference would be a TDY. I couldn't go because I was overweight. I missed out on training opportunities. I missed out on things that I just couldn't do strictly because I was overweight, but I wanted to do them. I remember before a test, I went down to a local spa, and I walked in at 250 some pounds, and I said, "Can we do this seaweed wrap thing?" And I remember laying there, wrapping my body in seaweed, trying to make sure that every ounce of water that was in my midsection would get it so that when they pulled that tape across my test for my next fitness assessment, that I would pass the test. I remember doing that. I remember thinking things like, "Oh my God, my fitness test is tomorrow morning. You know what, maybe as we leave to go down, if I get to like the second or third stair and kind of miss it, and if I trip and I fall, I don't really want to get hurt, but at the same point, if my boss sees me, there's no way he's going to say, well, let's go take a fitness test." I would get a kind of a free pass, so to speak. I would think things like, okay, well, as we drove over to the fitness field, maybe if I pulled out just a little early and hit the car in front of me and got in a car accident. Again, not to hurt anybody, not to hurt myself, but to just kind of buy some time so I didn't have to take this fitness test. I remember thinking these things. I would walk into the fitness assessment, and I would look for the guy. The Air Force fitness assessment comprises of a tape measure around your midsection for males, a 1.5-mile run, push-ups and sit-ups. I would walk into the fitness room, and I would look for the guy that I thought would give me the biggest break on the tape. It's a little subjective, depending on how tight you pull it. And I would look for the guy and be like, man, and I would jump lines, and I would kind of figure out which guy would give me the biggest break so that I would get that 38.5-inch waist, sucking it all in as much as I could. I was given a direct order before a test. I was talking with an 06 colonel in my command. And I said, "Sir," he said, "you got a test this week, Mike?" I said, "Yes, I do." And he's like, "Are you going to pass it?" I said, "Yes, sir. I want to." He goes, "Mike, I'm ordering you. This is a direct order." And those were the exact words. "This is a direct order. Go buy some preparation H. Go buy some saran wrap. Wrap your whole body in this. Put it around you. Go to sleep. And when you wake up in the morning, you will be another inch or two." I looked at him and said, "Sir, I get that, but I'm not going to do that." It wasn't a pretty conversation when an E8 looks at an 06 and says, "I'm not going to do that," no matter what the topic is. But I didn't do it. The Air Force has a core value of integrity first. And so that is a core value that I believed in 100%. I am not going to cheat this thing. I am going to give it my all. I'm going to go after it. I'm going to get it done. And I owned it, with the exception of I wasn't ready. And so I failed my fitness test for the first time. Now through this entire career, I'd always been able to kind of pass it. I'd always been able to sneak by, whether officially or unofficially, but I'd always had a passing score on record, is the term I'll use. But this is the first time I'd ever failed. And I had just moved to Indiana. I was working for the Pentagon, like I said, and then I moved to Indiana. My direct report, I report directly to a one-star general, and I failed my fitness test. And he looked at me and he said, "Well, Mike, what's happening?" And I said, "Well, sir, I didn't prepare for my fitness test. I just didn't prepare." And he looked at me and he said, "Well, Mike," he goes, "that's kind of interesting, and no one's ever told me that." He goes, "I hear all the excuses as to why you didn't pass or why people didn't pass. I've never ever heard anyone actually own it the way that you own it." I said, "Well, sir, it's 100% me. I understand the requirement. I just don't know how to get there." I looked right at him, though. I said, boss, if you give me another chance, I promise you, sir, with everything I got, I promise you I will never, ever fail another fitness test. I just need one more chance. He looked at me, and of course the regulation allows it. He gives me 6 months to go retest. And for those 6 months, if you can imagine what I did to lose enough weight, to get enough shape, I went out and I passed the fitness test. Right? And I passed it. I was excited. Off I went to Buffalo Wild Wings to celebrate that success story. I mean, it was an incredible accomplishment. I hadn't eaten for 6 months. It was time to eat. And but I said, I wanted to do this. And so slowly from that day, I couldn't have passed the test the next day. From that moment on, my weight continued to climb. It continued to climb. And here I am with a one-star general, my direct commander, and I said, sir, I would never, ever fail a test again. 1 year later, I come up and it's time to take the test. I wasn't prepared. And I kept going through that cycle. So I actually didn't, the slide's wrong, I actually didn't fail my second PT test. I didn't take it. I hid. Every time there was an opportunity to take the test, I was conveniently out. Every time the unit said, hey, we're going to test this weekend, oh yeah, I got that thing, meeting with a high school, got to go do some recruiting work. And so I missed a PT test for like 2 years. I never even took the test because I wasn't ready. And I knew that I wasn't going to go back on my promise. I promised I would never fail, so I certainly couldn't go take it knowing that I was going to fail it. The scores that you see there are completely made up. The commander or the captain came in and said, Mike, we need you to take a test today. I said, but Captain, I'm not ready to take the test. He's like, I get it. He goes, it's been 2.5 years. You need to take the test today. I said, sir, do what you got to do. I don't care. I'm not taking it. It's unhealthy for me to take this test. Make up whatever numbers you want. Put them in. I'll sign it. I'll agree to it. I don't care. With the exception of the fact that I actually kind of did care. I just didn't know what to do. So I sent an email to help. I CC'd 2 of my generals, a handful of colonels. It was about 20 people. I sent an email and I said, guys, I'm in trouble. I need some help. I don't know what's causing this. I want to pass this test more than you want me to pass it. Trust me on this. But I don't know how to get this under control. So I sent this email out, and it was, I poured my heart out. I said, I need some help, and I got very little response. I went on to Military OneSource and I was chatting with a counselor, and the results were eat less, run more. Great. The email, I found my wingman, he replied to my email. The one person out of the many people that I sent it to, he sent me an email back and he said, Mike, when is your next test? I said, well, I got a test in 68 days. He goes, okay. And that was kind of the end of the conversation. I was like, oh great, here's one more person that's certainly not going to help me through this process. And he said, well, no, Mike, we got this. And so the next morning I woke up and I said, good morning, Mike, day 68, we got this. Good morning, Mike, day 67, we got this. Good morning, Mike, day 65, let's do this. Good morning, Mike, day 64, how are you doing? 63, 62. Every single morning when I woke up, there was an email in my inbox from this guy that said, I'm here to help you, whatever it takes to get you there. That was my wingman. That was a guy that understood more than anything else that I needed that personal accountability. I needed someone to kind of walk me through this and kind of hold my hand so I could be reminded of what the goal was. And he did that. And so, as you see on the bottom, in May of 2015, I ended up taking the fitness test and getting a 79.7. It was great. I celebrated with food. I went off to Buffalo Wild Wings and had a great meal that afternoon. I'm telling you, it was fantastic. And I gained the weight all back. I got to 263 pounds. The Air Force tape measure, 38.5 across your midsection is failing. I think I was a 46 at one point. Not even close to within the standard. 2016, I took this photo here. I laugh at it because when I actually took the photo, I woke up the next morning completely sober. But I woke up the next morning, I'm scrolling through my phone, and I see this picture. I'm like, why would I have taken a picture of this old man? And I'm trying to figure out why I took a picture of him. And I'm like, oh, that's me. So obviously, clearly, a happy new year. But But I didn't understand what it took to pass the fitness test. I didn't understand that the lifestyle change that you guys all know, you've heard, you preach, you talk about, has to be a lifestyle change. I didn't get that. I was doing whatever it could to get through the process. And so I kind of made this new plan. I needed a new plan. I needed to do something different if I was truly going to change my life. And so I in January 2016, after I took that picture, I went to the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning every single day. I was there every single day in January at 5 o'clock in the morning when the doors opened. I went every single day in February, and on March 1st, I hopped on the scale, proud of my accomplishment. No change. Didn't lose a single pound. 2 full months at the gym, 5 o'clock in the morning. Now, granted, I wasn't doing much. I was 263 pounds, but I was there every single day giving it my all. No change. So I went back to Weight Watchers. Weight Watchers kind of got off this plan, and I started going back to meetings. And so, for those of you familiar with the program, March 1st, I joined online. I tracked everything I ate on March 1st. March 2nd, I tracked everything I ate. March 3rd, I tracked some of what I ate. March 4th, I tracked a little bit of what I ate. March 5th, nothing. 6th, nothing. 7th, nothing. 8th, back into the meeting room to find people who understood me. Now, this is my crisis. We have a crisis. And so all the statistics, all the data, my story doesn't exist in many of them. I'm on an active duty order for 3 years at a time. I pieced together a 20-year career doing this, but they came to me and said, we're not going to renew your orders. It's just time for you to go. No retirement, no pension, I was at 16.8 years, just short of sanctuary. Bye-bye, Mike. And I said, I've got to figure this out. So on March 8th, I reached out and I said, I've got to do this. So there absolutely is a crisis in the military. And so Mission Readiness is a group of retired generals that just released a report, Unhealthy and Unprepared, where they cite that 31% of the youth of today is disqualified for military service due to being overweight. We know as a recruiter that it's actually 71%. Education and drug use, law violations, drug use, are the number 1, 2, and obesity being the third factor why people are unable to join the military. Their report cited that 7.8% of active duty service members are overweight. It doesn't reach far enough into the Guard and Reserve to get the data for folks who don't have access to a dietitian. I laugh and I say this with no disrespect. I've been in the military for 27 years. The first dietitian I've ever met is sitting right here. I'm a recruiter. I've been recruiting for 17 years. I didn't know the Air Force had dietitians. The U.S. Navy just recognized that there's a problem, and they said we're going to grant amnesty to 48,000 sailors, folks who are struggling with their fitness. We're going to kind of give you a break because the Navy understands they need to retain them. So they're now working with them, and when they kind of set their policy, they realize that their policy to revamp this for folks who are failing a fitness test reaches into 48,000 sailors. In my career, my observation, I speak to the Army quite often, and I teach a class of military members who have been ordered to go to a life fit camp. Every time I go in the class, the room's 50 people minimum. I do it 3 or 4 times a year. I don't leave the state of Indiana. That certainly has to reach across the lines. Many of the folks that I will talk about in a second, I see a lot of folks that come to me and say, Mike, how'd you do it? I need some help. What I've noticed is very often it's the higher ranking, it's the senior enlisted, it's the military, it's the senior officers. Do you want to go into battle with your commander that says help? Right? You want to go into battle. So we have this stigma of you have to be strong, so the higher up in rank you get, the less likely you're going to reach out and get help. The Army, as you know, just released their new Army Combat Action Fitness Test, and so that's going to be a struggle. And I 100%, the Chief of Staff just released a statement where he said, if you can't get fit in 24 months, maybe you should hit the road. I 100% agree with that. We need strong members of our military to win and fight wars. That's what we're here to do. There is no disputing that. But as a military member that's been asking for help, that for 20 years wanted to be fit, that policy kind of irks me in a sense where I kind of take it one step further and I say, if you can't get in shape for 24 months, then maybe you should hit the road. Right? So if you can't get your financial spending under control in 24 months, maybe you should then hit the road. How about if you can't control your alcohol addiction in 24 months, then maybe you should hit the road. How about one more? How about if you can't get your head right in 24 months? If you're suicidal, if something's going on and you just can't fix it, well, then maybe you should hit the road. So what I recognize is there are patterns of things that we have solved as a military, we have solved as a nation, we have solved as a country, that we can do this. And so I started my foundation, Operation Fat Dag, and what we do is we work with folks who just want to anonymously help get themselves back in shape. And I want to share it. So now my fitness test 94.1. I have zero issue taking a fitness test. But it takes a little more than just looking at the problem at a big picture. It takes one step further and saying, I want to hold your hand. I want to get there with you. I want to do something with you about it. And it's not just let's get rid of you. Let's help you. Let's work through it. So that's where some of the gaps that I've identified, and I charge you and challenge you in this room with the tools, with the knowledge, with the education to let's do something a little more than just what we're currently doing and save some careers. So thank you.